Okay. 40 years ago, when I was a Kalamazoo college student, I sat in these rows like you are, Dalton Theater, listening to somebody like me holding forth and pontificating. Now that I've been invited back, it's really gratifying to work with the students here, the ones that are putting this whole thing together, because they're so much smarter and they're so much more socially adept than I ever remember being. They're so comfortable with all this. It just amazes me. It gives me hope for the future. But of course, that's not going to save you. I'm still going to try to distill 60 years of wisdom, put it in 18 minutes, and pour it into your heads. So, TED Talks. TED, right? What does it stand for? Technology, entertainment, design. In my case, that feels like a loaded weapon aimed at my head. And why is that? Well, it's because they've hijacked the means, methods, tools of the arts, sciences, and humanities and placed them into the hands of commerce, whose wisdom and motivation I profoundly question. So they picked me, of all people, to talk on TED. Go figure. So I prepared for this talk, and I did. And I did it by meditating and by fasting, time-honored techniques for doing that sort of a thing. And of course, I prepared my talk on a computer, noodled it endlessly. So you know that I'm not a complete Luddite, here to rain on anybody's parade. That's not me. No siree, not at all. I used to be a graduate student in zoology. And how I actually supported myself during that time was that I monitored a nuclear power plant. That's right. I went right into the belly of the beast, faced my demons, and so you see that I do have the chops to talk technology. I just haven't drunk the Kool-Aid. And that's what my talk is about here. That's why I'm here. I'm here to encourage you not to drink the Kool-Aid. Okay? Now, with the nuke, something important I have to talk about before we go any further with that, and that is when the guys in white lab coats go home at 5 p.m., it really is Homer Simpson at the controls, asleep at the controls. So sleep well. Those of us who work in those kinds of places know that's true. Comedy is powerful stuff, far more powerful than reason. The court jester has always been the last person who dares talk truth to power. So entertainment ain't bad, not by a long shot. But me, I slipped the noose. I got up from all of that stuff. I'm an artist today, so that's what I do for a living. Let's look at some of my artwork. Let's go there. You'll see that I do know how to draw, but you'll also see that I make etchings. Now, etchings are a fairly complicated technical matter. Uses 2-ton etching presses, acids, power equipment, all kinds of stuff. And of course, it also uses bees. In my case, I allow bees to accrete honeycomb all over them. And I find that very exciting. So the bees, what they do is they do it the way they've always done it. You know, there's nothing particularly technical about that. What the bees do is they simply excrete the stuff from the little wax glands on their bellies, and they apply it the same way that's always been done. And the other advantage of using bees is that they're non-unionized, and I don't have to pay them anything. So I'm up to the moment. I am actually with the program that all of technology is. You can't really fault me with that. Not at all. No. So what's an artist about? You know, what's the point of being an artist? What role do we fulfill in society? Well, for the most part, they think of us as prescient geniuses who go up onto Olympus, and we bring back what? We bring back the etheric bacon for all of you poor blighters down in the trenches of commerce. That's what we do. And a colleague of mine, a famous colleague, Andy Warhol, was really good at that. He told us all that someday we'd all be famous for 15 minutes. Turns out we get 18. Isn't that great? Why is that a problem? What's disturbing about that? Well, of course, it's a flash in the pan. It's ephemeral. As an artist, what do I aspire to? I aspire to the timeless. Sub specie aeternatis. You know, from the perspectival point of eternity. That's what I'm about. It doesn't happen in 18 minutes. It doesn't happen in 18 years. Matter of fact, you pay your dues all your life, and then you keep paying them, and then you die, and then maybe you pay them some more. That's the way it really works. But of course, most people don't have the patience for that. What do they want from you? You look at them, they say, give me the skinny, give me the abstract. Make a long story short. Nah. It's not good enough. Read a book, an abridged version of the book, that's pretty thin gruel. That's no darn good. You want to get some truth out of a technical paper? It's not in the abstract. It's that all the smoking guns are buried in the methods and means sections. You want to get at truth, you get at truth the way you fly fish for trout. You approach the trout along the bank, and you don't have those heavy footfalls. You got to go like a cat. As soon as there's trouble out there, as soon as there's a shadow cast across the stream, the trout's gone. And if you don't put that trout fly down very carefully, just upstream and let the stream take it down, just most gently, the drag-free float. You don't do any of that stuff. There's not going to be any fish meal for you. It's just going to be spooked and gone. Well, back to TED a little bit. There's always some guy like me, guy with gray hair, talking to an audience like this of young, eager people. And they're always telling you what? They're telling you to go out there and seize the day, change the world, use all that wonderful technical knowledge you picked up to do what? To fix the technical problems that my generation left you. And of course, my generation, what do? We were out there fixing the technical problems that our generation, our parents left us. And before. And it's like looking into a mirror, beholding a picture of yourself, holding a mirror in an endless reflection upon a reflection upon a reflection, going back. Well, that's disturbing. So how do we get there? Well, let a guy who actually studied biology before bolting and going AWOL tell you a little bit about that. You were born to this earth with a lot of problematic plumbing, and 2 anatomical adaptations, 2 that are absolutely fixed and ready to boogie. The first one is you come out of your mother's womb with a tight little fist full of strong little fingers, and they're right there for you to do what? Grab onto your daddy's beard and test his resolve to provide. And the other anatomical adaptation that you've got totally in order, that is a good, healthy sucking instinct to test your mother in the very same way. Well, you get a little bit older, you're supposed to give that up. You're supposed to let those little sausage fingers straighten out. Become a giver rather than a taker. And as you wake up to that, what do? You start looking around at how the world works. And of course, you realize that virtually all of the benefits of society seem to accrue to 60-year-old guys in suits who are still about grasping and sucking. Well, that's disturbing. Let's get back to where that comes from. What's the origin of that? We're going to have to go back into the mists of time to do that. We're going to go all the way back before your birth. Maybe all the way to Cain and Abel. No, not Cain and Abel. Let's go just to the mid-19th century. A guy named Sam Colt, fascinating character. An American industrialist and a munitions maker. So we're going to talk about guns. We said we would. He came up with the Colt 45, called it the Peacemaker. And the whole idea was to level the playing field, make the weak man the equal of the strong man. Wonderful thing. And a guy in Russia and the Soviet Union did the very same thing. His name was Kalashnikov. And now that we're all packing, ain't it just grand? No. We could keep talking this way. There's been problems with technology all along, of course. All the various toys that we just so love that have their problematic repercussions. Percussions, get that? They are, from the nukes to the fracking to the GMOs, and we do this until the cows go home. But I'm going to talk about bees, because actually that's something I know a lot more about. So there's me with a bunch of my girls, They're wonderful. Anyway, around town, everybody knows that I make artwork with bees. So I'm the go-to guy for bees. They're always after me. I'm being flagged down on the street, and I can't tell you how many times I run into some geek that explains to me with an absolutely straight face that he's going to solve the colony collapse disorder problem. He's going to solve the pollination crisis. And how's he going to do it? Well, he's going to come up with mechanical drones. Mechanical drones are going to take care of it. Really? I always wonder if these people have any idea how prolific insects are. A queen bee in mid-season produces 2,000 eggs a day, and she does that all summer and all spring. That's her own body weight in eggs. That's the equivalent of you cranking out 12 babies a day. Every single day, all summer long. I mean, it's nuts. Of course it's nuts. Now, take it even a nuts step further, how nuts that is. By midsummer, I expect to have about 500,000 bees in my bee yard. Okay? How am I going to pay for 500,000 drones to replace them? How am I going to maintain these drones of theirs? How am I going to program these drones to do what? To drop their little packages, little bombs of pollen somewhere in the right place they're supposed to go. And of course, what's that word I'm looking for that they love so much? Without collateral damage, that's it. Yeah, of course. No collateral damage to go with that. And get this, they're actually working on genetically modified bees. You know, just like with the drones, the honey is going to what? It's going to taste of industrial lubricants and probably be toxic. Well, who'd want that? They're crazy. It's like putting stuffed canaries down the mine because the live ones keep dying. They've been drinking the Kool-Aid, man. It's just crazy. Anyway, so what's the point of it all? Well, is the point of it all to just have my burger the way I want it now, hot now, in my car? Is the point happiness, maybe? I don't know. There's all kinds of statistics about happiness indices. You know, the rich in their various gated communities, they don't really come out so well in those. And, of course, the wage slaves that work for them are resentful. And the dirt poor, well, they get to use their AK-47s and Colt 45s, and ain't that just grand, too, you know? That's just wonderful. So, happiness. Why does it have to be so problematic? I mean, happiness can be so simple. You know, it's a kind word. You know, it's taking your family pooch out for a walk. So there you are. You know, you get out the door finally, and you hear the cranes overhead. And, you know, the bees are buzzing, and all this stuff is happening. And you'd have missed everything if the family pooch hadn't needed to go pee. Well, that's pitiful. But it does tell you something about where my inspiration comes from. My friends, the reason I do all this artwork is because I care about all those little buzzing and peeing and floating things in the stream and all that stuff. And I see my role as a walker between worlds. I go into dream time, and I come back with image and story. And the purpose of all that is that I hope it evokes in people that look at that artwork a compassion for the other, for the not me, the not mine, that's not even useful to me or mine, that can't be monetized. That's what it's about. So trees, you know, that's an example. I travel around the world and I commune with remarkable trees. And I draw them and they talk to me and we just have a grand old time. Everything is good. Like, for instance, this Araucaria tree we're looking at. That's from the southern Chile. It's a tree that was, it's a proto-conifer really, and a tree that has been, a dominant life form on the planet for some time ago actually, but the Mesozoic coal beds are all composed of their bodies. And the fact that a few of them still exist up in the high Andes that get to be several thousands of years old, well, that's the stuff that gets my juices flowing. That is exciting. So stay with me for a moment. Imagine drawing that tree. So I'm out there somewhere in the woods, or you are, and it's just you and the pencil. You know, no apps, no weird stuff. Just you and the pencil, no rules, and you're trying to figure out what's going on there. You're drawing the lines as they come off of that trunk and how that branches. And it's different than a maple. It's different than an oak. You got to get that. And you're trying to find a weight-bearing structure, and you're seeing how the sun is raking across the tree and leaving a shadow. And there's a contour that you can find there and define. Well, when you start to do that with a tree for a while, things inside your head change. You open up. You start to see things that really aren't normal. You know, like the tree starts to expand and contract. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. It's like fishing for trout. You spook it. But just keep going at it, and you'll notice, if you're paying attention, that there's that systole and diastole. There's inspiration. There's expiration. You know, basic attributes of life. It's all there. And it doesn't matter if the drawing's any good. It really doesn't matter. The point is the experience. You've got it in your neural net, you know, in that brain case. It's in there until death do you part. You know, that's all important. So, good. So that's probably all well and good and true, perhaps. But what good is it to me? What do I care, right? Well, it is important. It sets the stage for what's actually important in life. Your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to find a better way. A better way than using it all up, a better way than turning all of God's creation into human food and by extension into human excrement. Those trees, bushes, and things out there, they gave you life. They gave you water. They give you oxygen. They give you beauty. They are your parents. They gave you life. And when your parents become unproductive, useless drags, are you going to just clear cut them and pulp them? I think not. There will come a moment in your life when your long dead granny is going to break into waking dreams, look you in the eye, and speak. You need to pay attention. I had that wake-up call once, actually several times, but there was a Cherokee man passing through town, and he promised to take us all on a fire walk. Anybody that wanted to could, and of course I was all over that like white on rice. And I jumped on that. And by midnight, I was staring into this blazing inferno, all this heat coming up, and trying to find the courage in my gut to step off into that inferno. And somehow I did. I have no idea how I did, but somehow that happened. I mean, look at that. It's an amazing thing. And I walked through the fire, just like this red stuff here. It was crunching underfoot, and the embers are coming up between my toes and brushing against my ankles. It was so hot you could just throw a beefsteak on it and be scorched to a cinder in a second. That's as real as it gets. But you try to talk to people about it, and they get offended. It's amazing. They will explain to you how it's really done to fool the public. You know, they've been listening to, I don't know, stage musicians and debunkers and stuff like that, and it's amazing what they'll come up with. Vapor point coefficients and the R value of wood ash and the microclimates between your toes. No, it's all wrong. Get off of Wikipedia for a moment. Take off your shoes and go stamp out a campfire. See how you do. Well, what I got to tell you is all the things that matter break the mold. They're different. They aren't part of the rules. And of course, the things that are part of the rules, you know, they fit in the bell-shaped curve. They're Gaussian. They're just humdrum. They're disposable people going to disposable jobs, making disposable stuff, going to their little houses made of ticky-tack, and they all look, and they all look, and they all look all the same. Good God. Let me out of here. Ugh. You know, I like washing machines, you know, plane tickets, movies. I mean, who doesn't? It's all great stuff. Go ahead and use all that technology if it makes your life better. Just don't drink the Kool-Aid. But Andy Warhol is here starting to whisper in my ear. He's telling me my 18 minutes are just about up. Time to wrap it up. Time to wrap it up. Get moving, get moving. Okay. If you think back to where I began this talk, I told you I did it that I prepared by fasting. I really did. They called me, I said I'd take that thing, and I just stopped eating 10 weeks ago. That's 2.5 months, no food. Now, I'll admit to just a little bit of backsliding. You know, if somebody has a full plate of food in front of me, well, you know, I'll like pull a little off to taste to know what they're eating, or maybe a glass of wine once in a while. But in truth, you know, the point isn't that I need to necessarily be perfect and have an unblemished record. The point is that there's many things I don't need in life, and I can prove that to myself by simply abstaining from 99.9% of the food I would ordinarily consume. Well, how's it gone? Well, yeah, I lost a little weight. Not a lot, maybe 12 pounds in 2 weeks, and after that, my weight stabilized, and for 8 weeks, it has stayed the same. Well, how's that even possible? That doesn't sound right. I don't really know. Maybe it's fresh air, sunshine, maybe divine providence. What I do know is that I don't require as much sleep as I used to. I can do everything I ever did physically. There's no real difference except for the social aspect. It's kind of hard to get along with people when you don't eat. That's kind of weird. So what's the point? Well, the point is to put my money where my mouth is. You know, I tell you people to do something different, break your own norms. Well, I got to break my own norm. I should be dead, or emaciated and hobbling around on charred stumps. Well, that's clearly not the case. So it's the meaning. Well, the meaning is, if I can do this, what can't I do? But for you, the meaning is, if I can do it, so can you. Yeah, really. I don't think you necessarily need to walk through a fire or stop eating. That probably requires a little extra preparation, like the 40 years of meditation I've been doing since I was a student here at Kalamazoo College and learned that. But what is important is to spot that which breaks the pattern, the thing that's different, the thing that disproves the rule. And when that intrudes itself into your life with that telltale, titillating excitement, that sense of, oh my, what have we here? You need to not ignore it, but instead embrace it, never turn back. Good luck and Godspeed.